Kitesurf, kiteboarding.com, and fixmykite.com. I'm Jeff Howard, the owner, operator, sewing machine operator, boy, what else you want to say, designer. Anyway, we want to run you through some of the basic principles of kite repair and what you should do to take care of your kite and everything else. So come on in, welcome, come on into Kitesurf. Everything in a kite repair is due to time, which is labor. It's not the materials that you put into it, which is truly not very much. It's truly the time. So if someone has a large rip that extends from leading edge to trailing edge, your cost can go up from there. Leading edges, doing repair on leading edges takes a little bit more time because you're always having to open up something to do the work and repair on it. So that can increase your cost, as well as a bladder. If you have a bladder failure or a blowout or something like that, cost of repairs can go up, dramatically from there. Years ago when I first got into designing kites many years ago, and then I got into the kite surfing side of it back in the later 90s, mid to later 90s, I started noticing that there was nobody out there that knew how to fix kites, and I was already designing kites and started setting up and using my sewing machines to repair kites when everybody needed it. So they would contact me, and the word of mouth has spread since then. To make a job a little bit easier on a kite repair is make sure that the kite is clean. And make sure, don't send it to someone else or their mom or one of their friends that just knows how to do a repair or run a sewing machine. Because understanding these kites and how they should be put back together to take the same strength that they were designed for. We've had kites that come in here that have had previous repairs that have blown out and increased the cost of the repair because it just failed and destroyed a lot more of the material, and we have to put more time. But if someone takes the repair of their kite and cleans it up, gets it packed up good, don't send your bar or your lines, just send your kite only. That's the only thing we need, unless your bar needs some repair work. And simply get your kite to us without any defects or any more damage caused by someone else doing the job. Most kite damage is due to pilot error, either putting it into something, not watching out what the small rips and tears on your kite. I mean, on your sail, a small 1-inch tear can actually turn into a full rip from leading edge to trailing edge just due to the pressure that your kites take once they hit the water really hard. So keeping them clean, keeping them dry at times after storage, not letting them sit out in the wind when they're not being flown. That is one of the major causes for damage, and what that does is it causes the weakening of the material. It's what we call flagging. If your kite is sitting there flapping like a flag, it's not meant for that. And that can break down the coatings of the material, therefore weakening the overall material. And other than that, always inspect your kite. It only takes a few seconds. With the kite inflated mainly is the best way to do it. Inflate your kite completely. Look it all over. Look at real close, mainly across the leading edge parts of the kite, because this is where the damage, where it touches the ground most. And also the wingtips is where people flip their kites over. Those small cuts and tears, if you don't take care of them at the start, can turn into really big damages and cost you a lot more for repairs. As I was saying, the most vulnerable is the areas that touch the ground most commonly. And a lot of kites have repair patches, abrasion or reinforcement patches along the leading edge, because this is the area that touches the ground sitting there on the ground. Wingtip areas also take some damage due to the people when they flip the kite over to launch, hit shells, rocks, or something that's on the beach. When you have somebody flip your kite over, try to show them how you need to do it is raise the kite up into the air before it flips. Don't let it drag on the ground to flip it over. Lift it up in the air, gradually start turning it over, and that'll keep the kite from getting a lot more damage by touching the ground, is where it usually does the problems. Most thing is always keep an eye on it. As I was saying, inspect it once in a while. Check your bridles. I'll have someone who won't check. All the new kites now have a lot of pulleys on them. Pulley failure, bridle failure can cause a kite to go into an uncontrolled manner and cause some damage, as well as release the kite on a safety system or a release system that's on the bar itself. A lot of people don't use those, so when the kite goes into an uncontrolled slamming in the water, release it. If once you release that pressure, you can save a kite in a lot of repair work. The other thing is keeping it clean. A lot of people will roll their kites up, pack them up very tightly with a lot of sand in there. That's basically packing your kite with sandpaper. So leaving it tight, packed, and then stacking other things on top of it in the car, and gradually over time can cut little holes all in your sail due to the sand eating through it or any other trash or anything else getting stuck in your sail. Yeah, cell tape is the best. Make sure that before you apply it, you want to make sure to clean your cell. Using the Tear-Aid type patches can be a very big problem for a repair center to either go over or remove to do a correct patch on. So if you use a Tear-Aid, the rubberized, use that in your absolute worst conditions or wherever you may be. And if you do, use it sparingly. Don't put a huge piece of Tear-Aid on. Use a small, if you have a small tear, that stuff grips very, very well. And what we can do is we can come back and actually do a panel replacement and replace that. So taking some Tear-Aid for your bladder repair, taking some Dacron or some ripstop repair tape, which you can buy in the rolls, very cheap, and take with you. And you want to make sure to cover that repair in a large area. But carrying that type of stuff, you can usually do some of the minor repair damages to your kite if you're on a travels. All kites nowadays are basically built out of the same polyester type material. This is about a 1.5 to 1 3/4 ounce polyester, ripstop polyester. Some kites are being built out of nylon. The cost is a little bit less on nylon than it is in polyester. But all the kites are sourced, the materials come out of the same facility and operation. Now, Dacron, everybody's going with 175 dam Dacron on the leading edges. Now, this is a strong, very durable, having the reinforced areas where the cell attaches to your strut. There's a lot of reinforcements nowadays that can end a small rip that's in a cell, so it doesn't have to open up the leading edge to do this repair. But sometimes they'll fail and they won't hold up. But everything is made out of a polyester, a Dacron on your leading edges, sticky back, and everybody asks about thread as well. This type of stuff, these are UV protected threads. These are made to last longer in salt water and sun degradation. Well, the way we do repairs here at Pro Kite Surf, a cell will always stretch no matter what. All the panels in the kite over time will gradually stretch a little bit more, always, even at new. But here at Pro Kite Surf, when we put a cell repair back together, we match everything on the cell back to itself. So you are correct. If a cell is stretched out, if you do a panel replacement and that material is already worn out and it stretches in flight, you can change the characteristics of a kite and how it flies. So in other words, you may get a kite back where, let's say, over on a right-hand side of the kite, someone has gone in and put a huge panel replacement with brand new material. This area will not stretch as much, whereas the left-hand side can actually cause some different flying characteristics and make the kite slightly turn to the left or the right due to this factor. But we don't do that here. We always make sure that we match the material back onto itself, and we do a tape and stitch method, which we've done now for, golly, ever since we started kite repairs, and a lot of people copy us now. And it is stronger than the original material and will guarantee it for the life of the kite. So therefore, you're getting your flying characteristics, which was already the kite. When it got ripped, we put it back into that same way.
All right.
I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the materials that we use here to do a lot of the main kite repairs at Pro Kite Surf. You can do basic samples of panel replacements. We get different rolls and colors of material. The problem with getting a color of the material to match everything that's on the market is very difficult, as different manufacturers get their colors completely different. So having every color is very, very difficult to have. But it's not absolutely needed by any means. Doing a repair in most cases using a ripstop type tape, it's a sticky back nylon. This is virtually what we call clear or white. This is what we use on most of the cell repairs, mainly because once this is put on, it basically just disappears into it and allows us to get the kite back to its original shaping. Keeping that shaping is very important. Putting a huge panel in is, again, we were talking about stretch. So here we have a ripstop tape nylon. Very important to keep new rolls around, which keeps the adhesive lasting a lot longer. Once this is stitched onto your cell, you copy it from front to back, a piece that matches, stitching around the edge. This becomes, depending on your needle, which we'll talk about in a little bit, becomes as strong or stronger than the original material that's on the kite. So we strip it down into 1-inch strips when we do a large rip out. And as long as you match the front to the back and stitches together, we have never had our kite returned to us on a guaranteed repair. So you have white, which is basically clear, which works on almost all the colored type stuff, and then of course you can get into black. Black and white are the main ones. A lot of people ask us about colored sticky back, which you can get, but once you start layering those layers, the darkness of the material starts coming out. Therefore, you can see it in the air a lot when you get to a repair like that. But again, this comes in rolls. We sell that on fixmykite.com. If anybody needs it or to carry with them, you can buy it by the foot or you can buy it by the roll. This is a Dacron tape. This is a 3.9 ounce Dacron. This is what's used on your leading edges. Again, it's sticky back, which allows us to stick everything in, back it, and then stitch everything around it. So once you add this together, a front and the back piece, you're back up to the same strength or more of any of the Dacron in any of the casings, which is a strut of the leading edges. This is trimmed down to different widths depending on the repair and the size of the repair. If we need to cover up a large section that has been actually either ripped out or shredded in a lot of different ways. Therefore, we use the Dacron. We have this in a couple different colors as well to try to match as the best we can. But most leading edges are black, red, blues, and everything else. So we'll have a different colors and stuff like that. This is the standard Dacron, which is on the leading edge. This is used as well if we want to strengthen up a very high stress zone area where, for instance, where a strut is connected to the leading edge. Those areas take a lot more punishment on a kite and a lot more stress. So dispersing that stress out and everything else. But again, any of the repairs that we've come up with over the years, we've had guaranteed for the life of the kites and have yet to have someone return a kite back to us due to a failure of a repair. So you can't complain about that. But these are mainly the basics of putting your kite back together, the materials that are used. The processes are the other hard part about it, making sure everything is matching and gets back to the same shape as it originally was on a kite. And what you'll do is you'll normally get a cut which is across the bias. What that means is you can look on here and you'll see a ripstop grid going vertical or perpendicular to each other. A normal cut, a shell doesn't care. So let's say you get a cut like this. That's very uncommon, very common for a sail rip or a tear. It doesn't matter. Now what happens here is once you slam your kite, the direction of rip will follow the grid. And that's what ripstop does. So when you go to pull this, you can see that it already formed a straight line this way and a straight line that way. And you can also tell that you're going to get stretching of the cloth and material here. So this type of repair right here, if you went to tape this, this usually will rip and follow up over into the next material as well. So if you went to repair this with ripstop tape, you want to be careful because this probably wouldn't take the load of a full slam of a kite into the water. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this all stuck back together and match everything. So you make sure to flatten out, because what you'll do is you'll get some of your grid where it was pulled and it actually stretches the material. But once you start to rub it, as you can tell, things will lay down straight. Now we're going to pull in a secret device. Now this is not for the public to see, but which they could figure out at some point, huh? So what you want to do is you want to get everything stuck down. Now as your cell is stuck down, since we're actually going to sew this, now we're going to show you how I actually do the repair. So now I'm just going to line up and make sure that I half everything. And I draw a few quick lines on the material to indicate where I want my tape to stop and end. So I'll mark, figure out my length. Again, round those ends. This one down here is my angle. Now, once I match this to my lines, rub it down. Now, don't forget, you want to keep these. These are your templates for the back side, so you can match exactly the same piece of material. So don't lose those. Keep those set to the side. Place in location. Now we have our repair, which is basically ready to stitch. And again, this type of repair, if you're going to be doing this out in the field, make sure to use your wider tape to gain more strength if you're not going to stitch it. And if everything holds by the time you get home, zipper stitching around. Now we'll go to the sewing machine and show you how to do a little stitching. Now that we have our material all taped and ready to stitch, What I have here is, this is a Bernina. It's a very, very nice home machine. It has a leg lift and everything else. A lot of having the right machine. Stitching through tape is very important. As you will see, a lot of the cheaper type machines, it will become very difficult to mess with. But make sure you have a pretty small needle. Needle thread size is depending. I mean, again, that comes with knowledge and knowing how to sew, making sure that your thread flows through the needle smoothly. But you want to make sure you're not using, we'll have a lot of repairs come in here where somebody has used an upholstery type needle which punches huge, huge holes in the cell. That can weaken the cell material very quickly and very easily. So a small needle, a nice 3-step zigzag is what we use here. What that does is that disperses a load, doesn't create a straight line. That's why you'll see a lot of these in the kite repair, in the kite manufacturing. This is what we call a 3-step zigzag. Steps 3 times and goes a different direction. That increases the strength overall. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to stitch all the way around the edge. So what I'm going to do first off is lock it off, run down the end, make sure I get to the end, needle down, turn. Now I'll reach my final end, lock it off, trim my threads, pull out my repair, clean both sides. That repair would be guaranteed for the life of the kite if it ever left here. That is much stronger than anything of the total kite. It'll never fail. All right, now that we've spent a little bit more time than we needed to get all this stuff fixed, we got some kites to repair down here at fixmykite.com. So, thanks for coming in, checking out the things. Oh, man. Man, we got work to do, man. It's time to get out of here.
Under the fog and over the sand, I see out to the sea from the palm of my hand. No time for hesitation.